Hey, everyone. In this video, I want to talk about the question that comes up a lot, and that is, does Kickstarter only work for certain comic book genres, especially genres like cheesecake projects, super sexy projects, or Lovecraft-themed projects, something with Cthulhu in it? And so I want to jump into this and discuss this a little bit. My name is Tyler James. I'm the host of the Comics Launch podcast. I run a community called Comics Launch Pro, which is all about taking creators who are interested in planning, launching, funding, and fulfilling successful Kickstarter campaigns, building audiences for that, and following a strategic process to do that. And that's a community that I run. And so I want to talk about this question because I see this pop up a lot, and I see some creators are frustrated or because they see certain projects and they think, well, you know what? I'm working in a genre that's not a hot genre, or my projects don't have X, Y, or Z in it, and therefore they're not going to blow up on a platform like Kickstarter. And so I want to talk about that a little bit. To tease my answer, the answer is going to be absolutely not. Kickstarter actually works in probably more genres than any other platform. But we're going to talk about this and why it seems like it only works for certain genres. But before I jump in and get into that deeply, I do want to encourage you to join us inside of the private free Facebook group that I run. It's called the Comics Launchers Group. It has a lot of creators that are launching projects in just about any genre that you can think of. There's I think over 300 creators in there now. You can join us over at comicslaunch.com/group. We would love to admit you if you are a comic book creator interested in building audiences and launching awesome projects to them on Kickstarter. All right. And so let's talk about this. Does Kickstarter only work for certain comic book genres? I know sometimes it can feel that way. It can feel that way because it does feel like every time you log on to the platform, or if you're going and scrolling, or you're watching your feed, it does seem like there's always like at least a couple projects that are getting funded that fall into some of these more popular categories. You know, the cheesecake, or the sexy, buxom, you know, scantily clad projects. Like, that's definitely one of them. And you know, at any given time, you can probably find at least one of those projects that's absolutely raking it in on Kickstarter. Lovecraft and Cthulhu, it practically could be its own category on Kickstarter, as there are so many projects that launch successfully in that category. And as someone that has built a brand on Cthulhu and taken advantage of that, and actually have a project on there right now that is wrapping up funding this week that has been successful. Yeah, these projects and these fan bases, there is a fan base built in for some genres that can be very active and very rabid. And so the question is that all you need? Can you just throw Cthulhu on something and have it be successful? Can you just throw some sexy project out there and have it be successful? If that's all it took, or if those were the only genres or if those genres were just automatic wins, then that might be all it takes. But the reality is, and I look at this, you know, I track this stuff. The reality is, just about every month, you can also find Lovecraft and Cthulhu related projects that fail to fund. You can also find super sexy cheesecake projects that get no traction whatsoever. And you can also find, you know, projects that are supposedly in these hot categories that just struggle to find an audience. And the reality is that genre and style alone is not what separates success from failure on Kickstarter. And likewise, you can find projects in genres that are like subgenres of some genres that do super well, that don't fall into these, what you would assume would be, oh, there's a big market for that. And I'm going to go a step further and say that some of those projects and some of those genres that you think are just automatic wins, actually, like, the Kickstarter platform has ways to, tamper those down a little bit. Like Kickstarter actually does not want to aggressively promote projects that are explicitly graphic or explicitly sexual, or graphically violent, like extremely graphically violent. They have a way where, through their own algorithms and things, if your project is the kind of thing that if it popped up in Kickstarter's feed, which is, tries to be appropriate for a general audience and a wide audience, like if you're trading on like super sexualized images, they actually will tamper that down a little bit in terms of the visibility that you get on Kickstarter now, and because they want their user experience, like they don't want someone to be complaining that Kickstarter is pushing overtly sexual or graphically violent stuff in their feeds, right? That makes sense. Kickstarter is a platform; it has its own brand to look out for, and so for a lot of those times, if you're doing like a super sexualized project, it's more on the creator's shoulders to push that book, and Kickstarter will actually turn their own dials down. But creators that understand this and know that it's going to be up to them to drive their projects and to push their projects in the communities that are most going to respond to that, like they take that on. What happens though is the creators that think all you need to do is throw up some cleavage and that's all it's going to take. They actually find that, Kickstarter isn't pushing this in front of all the right people for me, because they're missing the piece that is required, which is to build that audience in advance and drive that audience to the platform as well. And so the important thing that I want all of us to know is that genre actually matters far less than a great product and having an engaged audience that is ready for that product launch. All right. And so, for example, like if I just want to put sort of an extreme example, but a very good one. Like, how big an audience do you think there would be for a slice of life comic that deals with college hockey and gay themes? Right? Like, how big an audience of that do you think that would be? Like it's definitely not the kind of thing that you would think would be, your blockbuster Wednesday release at the comic shop. But Check Please is one of the most successful graphic novel series in all of Kickstarter history. It's raised almost $1 million in total so far on the Kickstarter platform, among success elsewhere in the book market and elsewhere, right? And that's what it is. It's a slice of life gay college hockey comic, right? A niche of a niche of a niche, but it's something that found an audience and launched to that on the Kickstarter platform. And so, if a book with a genre that's as niched as that can succeed, I hope that gives a lot of hope and a lot of encouragement for all of those of you that, hey, you know what, you're not being called, you're not passionate about launching in genres that are sort of the big sellers, right? You've got a story and a unique vision, a mindset, a worldview that you want to put it out there. And I think what you'll find is that on a platform like Kickstarter, that the options and the diversity of the stuff that can actually succeed and get funded and be successful is bigger than just about anywhere else. Inside my program, Comics Launch Pro, like we've had every genre of comic be funded, from, zombies and super sexy stuff and Lovecraft stuff, all the way down to, a travelogue comic journal about a nautical sea adventure, and super quirky, personal comics and comedy comics and comic strips. Like, genre, is not the key thing that's going to make or break your Kickstarter. Now, this is not to say that genre doesn't matter. And this is not to say that if you aren't able to pick a genre with broad appeal, and you marry that with your ability to build an audience and launch an exceptional Kickstarter experience and then deliver on that experience, that won't be a 1-2 punch that will take your results to an even higher level. Simon Burks is an example of a creator inside our community who really saw this earlier this year. Now, Simon, he's a Kickstarter pro. He's a Kickstarter veteran. He's had over 20 successful launches. He's launched in a wide range of genres for his Blue Fox comics. Has a track record of success, delivers on his promises to his backers. But he did all of that, and then one of his most recent launches was jumping into one of those genres that does well. He did a Lovecraft-themed sort of retelling of a Lovecraft story as a graphic novel, and that thing absolutely blew up this year. It was his most successful launch by far, over 1,000 backers, just crazy amount. But just know that genre was just one small part of the puzzle. It was not the whole thing for Simon, but it can make a difference. All right. But it's not the whole thing. And so if you plan, build, and launch a great Kickstarter campaign, there is no reason you can't be successful, regardless of the genre that you choose to work in. All right. So again, I hope that helps. I hope that gives you some encouragement to keep moving forward, even if you're not in one of those sexy, popular genres. I do want to encourage you, if you will be launching, or if you are a successful comic book Kickstarter creator, or if you plan on being one in the near future, join us over at comicslaunch.com/group. We'd love to have you in there, and I can't wait to see what you launch next.